then you can
sure.
go back in, kind of re-engineer it or tweak the things that need to happen. But I think the
Mhm.
key thing that I'm hearing is that you don't stay in the like,
Yeah.
I'm a
I'll,
horrible
like, go
person
for a
state.
run. Whenever like, because usually what happens is if I get in that state, I'm literally worthless. Like,
Yes.
I can't do anything, like, when
Yeah.
it comes to work. I just sit at my computer, I stare, and I just, like, have anxiety in my head. And usually when I come back from the run, maybe I'll call I have, like, a friend group, networks that
Yeah,
we
for
we
sure.
call each other very frequently,
Yeah.
just kinda
You
talk
need
about
that.
what's going on, "Hey, what you think?"
Absolutely.
And then usually they just, like, either tell you their opinion or tell you, "Hey, dude, stop being a bitch and go work hard,"
Bro, you
Um,
need that in life. You
yeah,
totally
you do.
do.
You got to.
Absolutely. Keep you honest.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, welcome to the Flip This podcast. What this is, it's a real estate meets real transformation podcast. I'm Dan Alborn, and what we're talking about today is what it takes to win in an ever changing market. Not just the deals, the discipline, but more importantly, this thing up here, the mindset, is what is going to get you deals, quite honestly. But flipping how you think, that is truly the biggest challenge. And I have a guy with me today that has that mental tenacity. He's a good friend of mine, a mentor, and a guy who's just crushing it right now. Chandler's saying he is a full-time investor, coach, entrepreneur, known for really this approach that your commitment to integrity, but also you turn simple things, Chandler, into scalable systems. I think that's one of your magic things that you're able to do, man. You mentor people to do the same. Like last time I checked, you've taken like 37 companies to over $100,000 a month, bro,
Actually
all while
42
keeping everything front and center. How many now?
42.
I'm sorry, 42. My stats weren't updated, brother. All right. They keep adding. So good for him, man. Today we're going to cover what drives him, not just in the market, but in life. So, bro, welcome to the Flip This podcast. I'm excited to have you on.
Dude, appreciate the intro, man. I'm, like, probably the worst intro person known to man because 'cause I'm, like, the least, like, hype beast person, but
All right.
that was great. I love
Hey,
it.
man. Hey, you're doing good stuff, dude. I mean, I've been following you for a while. Obviously, we had a chance to connect in Miami, and dude, that was a blast. I think
Yeah.
you have a good community of people that are really hungry. And what I like about your community too is these are people that are doing stuff. Now, I've been in
Mhm.
a lot of rooms where people are kind of like, kind of testing the waters. Like you got some active, hungry investors that you've a tribe that you've built. And it's just really just content rich, man. I know when I was down there for few days, I walked away with so many nuggets of like, ooh, I want to do this in my business. And here's a small tweak I can do. But what I'd like to have you chat about, man, because I think you have a phenomenal pulse. I've been following a lot of your content recently. You really know what's going on in the market. And as we're recording this, it's October 25, October of 2025. And we saw a pretty sizable shift in the real estate investing market, probably late August. And talk a little bit about that and why do you think that happened? And what are businesses like yours and mine doing to stay competitive and just crushing it right now?
Yeah, definitely. So, I think that the just to start off with, like, an overall, like, view is, like, I was looking at the MLS data, and I'm very curious to see what comes out at the end of October and the
Hmm.
start of November. But September from August to September, median home price in Atlanta, the FMLS, which is, like, the main market for us, dropped 2.5%, which is probably the biggest drop I've ever seen,
Hmm.
even, like, going back to 2022 when there was, like, a cliff that we fell off just as well. Same like, where we went like this, straight down. Uh, I'd argue it's, like, it's the biggest drop, I can't remember offhand, but I think it's, like, if not the biggest, one of the biggest that I've seen. But really where I've seen it is less in, it's definitely, like, a fact affecting, like, the whole market, but where it's really affecting is, like, if you were a novation heavy business, which we did a lot of novations and had a lot of, like, or do, like, wholesales where it's, like, a lot of as is, like, move-in ready type of deals, type of
Yeah.
properties that we're selling, that buyer has, like, disappeared from the market. And I don't think that necessarily that I don't know if it's, like, that they disappeared. I think it's a mixture of both where they kind of, like, have gotten priced out and just are no longer able
Yeah.
to buy.
Fatigue.
Um yeah, exactly. Also mixed with the fact that the supply is so high. Like, you know, I've been like looking around, like, do I want to buy a house like in another Airbnb or whatnot? Like at the end of this year, just like on the MLS, like around here in Denver. And I really like, I'm like, kind of overwhelmed, like when I look on Zillow.
Mhm.
So I can't imagine like basically how the normal consumer feels who's like looking for the first time and doesn't do this as like a professional
Yeah.
career. And so like that psychology, I think, has really affected a lot of the way the market moves right now,
Hmm.
mixed with the fact that like 90% of all, or sorry, is it, I want to say it was, 10% of the population accounts for, like, over 50% of, like, all consumer buying right now,
Yeah.
which is the
Wow.
highest it's been in a long time.
Sure.
And then, there was a chart on, like, affordability. Like, right now, housing is more affordable than it's ever been, ever, even at the peak of the '07, '08 crisis,
Interesting.
financial
Okay.
crisis.
Why do we think that
Um
is? 'Cause I mean, I hear things conflicting that saying like, you hear all the media, whatever, saying it's not affordable. Why do you think that the data says otherwise?
So, at least the chart that I saw from
Okay.
one of the
I'm
guys
just
who
curious.
one of my
I
mentors,
don't know, right? Yeah.
there's like a million charts. This is the thing with data, is like I watched this video on YouTube like a year ago,
Yeah.
and you can lie with data so easily. So,
Yeah.
everything's is a grain of salt. What I will say on the front lines is I
Yeah.
feel that most people just, like, aren't buying, like, to the same degree as they are. The best property is the best inventory. So, like, if I observe, like, one little market I observe is, like, where I, like, bought my primary because I love that neighborhood. I think it's, like, a great one, and I'm always looking to try to, like, see if I can find another good deal to buy there. But the only things that sell is, like, the best inventory price really low, goes immediately. If
Mhm.
you have, like and it's, like, I'm talking, like, rooftop view of the city, big living room, great floor plan, high
Yeah.
level finishes, etcetera, for, like, this specific neighborhood that I'm in. It's, like, mostly, like, it's in the city, but if it has all those things, then it will sell, like, right away,
Yeah.
if it like, right around the $1,000,000 price point. If
Mhm.
it's, like, above that, like, 1.5, like, it just doesn't it's just kinda rotting there nonetheless for this area,
Yeah,
but
so what I'm
I'm s
getting is that ultimately when you're looking at these deals where before stuff would just fly, you have to be very competitive in your underwriting. Like you almost have to
Mhm,
assume the worst. And I know we always look at specifically for novations because we're both doing those. If you're putting them on MLS, you have to make sure that these homes are pretty much ready for
yeah,
novation, or you price it accordingly, and you need to
mhm.
get it under the even a deeper discount than ever before if you want to be able to move it in a timely fashion. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, like, even if it needs work, like, if it's not move-in ready, you might as well sell it as cash or
Mm,
fix it up yourself. Because, like, for example, we had a like I'll tell you, like, 2 examples of deals that, like that are kind of on both ends of the spectrum. So the first one's, like, a novation that we had. It needs, like it's, like, rough around the edges, right? Like, someone could live there, but they'd really need to put, like, 15K worth of work into it to, like, actually get it there. This lady bought it, in 2018 for 315K, I think was
mm,
the number,
mm.
315K. We got an offer. The only offer we got was for 250. So, like, obviously, it's not a premium area. It's like a
Yeah,
B
sure.
minus. But that just like goes to show, like, if you fix it up, it probably would still sell for like 300 or so. But she's like taking such a haircut that she's like, there's no reason I'm going to sell this thing, and
Yeah.
so you can't even do the deal. But that's like an example of like the novations. Like, if it's not like premium, like a good location, good product, like you might as well sell it cash because that was
Mhm.
what we got. It's like an investor offer, a cash offer for like 250. And so that's like one example. The other side is like I invested in a deal, it was like a lending deal with
Mhm.
one of my buddies. But he was buying a flip for his all-in cost was like 205, all in purchase, rehab, everything. The comps, as is comps, were selling for 250, like 5 days on market in this area.
Okay.
And then so what he did is he just, put some, like, nicer finishes in the house, like LVP flooring, made it look nice, like, a little bit more livable. It also had a
Mhm.
pool that looked good. And he sold it for 268, listed it for 260, sold it for 268, 6 days on market. However, the caveat of that is the financing, getting it to the closing table, like, it's pushed back, like, 3 times now at the closing
Yeah.
table
Yeah.
because the buyer's financing issues. It'll
Yeah.
probably close it's supposed to close today, finally. But, yeah. So that's a couple things that at least from a very, like, stark difference is, like, what's moving, what's not moving, kind of in the market that I'm seeing.
Yeah, so you gotta obviously make sure you're I mean, with it's the old school adage in real estate, you make money when you buy the deal, right? So you gotta
Mhm,
buy it right, and even more today than ever before, you could make a lot of mistakes even a year ago, 18 months ago, and still win. Right
mhm,
now, if you're not buying them right, you're definitely going back for a retrade or what we call negotiation or retrade in the business. You're having to go back to your seller and say, "Listen," and I think that's one of the things that I heard you say in a recent training, Chandler. You said that that's a key thing. Like you need to have constant contact with your seller, right? I think that's
mhm.
what's really winning in ththese deals right now for you guys, right?
100%. Like, you're not gonna get a reach on every deal, and you shouldn't, like, from an ethical and moral perspective, you only do it when it's, like, actually reasonably correct. So,
Correct.
sometimes we miss pricing, that happens. We want to avoid that as much as possible, and the
Mhm.
other time is the seller's lie about condition if you're doing it virtually
Right.
100% of the time. I mean, let's be I mean, I don't think I've ever done
Oh
a deal with a
man, no,
seller.
you're
There's
right. You're
good
right.
there I had one guy, we actually bought this Airbnb. It was a banger deal somehow, like, he had to
Yeah.
just sell it, like, right away. Made, like, 60K on it, but the That's probably the only guy who ever told the truth about the condition because he pulled up his Airbnb profile and showed it to us. I'll digress. So basically, what at least for the retrade process, like we do, is it's pretty simple. Is we no matter when we touch the one speed is key. So we want to
Mm,
be touching the seller, having a touch point like very frequently. So
yes.
like once we sign the contract, immediately having a welcome call, intro call, setting expectations, getting pictures, and then
Mhm.
getting pictures in the next day or two, 3 days. Obviously there's outlier situations where we have to delay it. And then once we get pictures, coming back to the seller and saying, "Hey, here's what we saw," asking questions about it, planting the seed that's more work than possible, and then sending people out to the property, continually to do that over and over again until we basically ask for the
Right.
retrade. But
Yeah.
there's more nuance in that, but from a high level, just
Mhm.
lots of contact, planting seeds of doubt, and then asking for the retrade after there's more proof and effort.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now, let's put it this way. Let's say if someone, because there's a lot of people watching this that are newer investors, they've never done a deal before. Obviously, the novation thing's probably blowing their mind because, like, I've heard about that. I've heard negative things. I mean, guys that do it have a lot of people come to them and say, "Well, how do you do that?" Because they always hear the horror stories. I think you have to do it correctly. But if someone was starting all over again and you had to rebuild your business, how would you do that? And what are some of the core marketing pillars that you would say are like must do, can't fail to be successful in today's market?
How much experience do I have? Like, what's my forte? Like, what do I
Your
got?
forte is you're a newer investor that wants to get you either tried investing in the past and maybe just failed. You maybe went through YouTube University, or you're brand new, you're hot to trot, and you got a little bit of maybe some cheddar in your pocket to apply to some marketing to get things to work. So
Yeah. So I think if you've never done a deal, I think it's really important that you cold call and get a deal that
mhm,
way.
great.
If you want to start the business the right way, I think you just learn how to talk to sellers and like just you kind of grit it out. It's kind of like the prerequisite. It's kind of like your college to it, your college education in a way.
Yeah.
And so I think anyone who's getting their first deal, realistically, no matter how good you are at sales, no matter how good your background is, it's just a different sales process and a different avatar than most people are used to working with. I'm sure there's some outliers out there, but in general, I'd cold call for your first deal. Once you get a deal from cold calling, I would then transition into some paid marketing if you have the budget for it. But I'd
Mhm.
continue cold calling or hire a cold caller to basically bring that on board. And like that would be like my starting strategy.
And that's
Uh,
pretty low cost because I mean, you can get data fairly inexpensively. Everyone
mhm.
seems to have a cell phone, right? So you can make a call off of that. And the
Yep.
skip tracing, I mean, there's services that'll do that for, I mean, right now there's one offering a promotion for 3 cents per skip, which is silly
Yeah.
cheap. Yeah.
I also think another way too that I think it's becoming more prominent with the market being slower because there's now more value to add in the market because it doesn't just no properties don't just sell in 3 days on market over ask no
Right.
matter what. So there's also like the direct to agent, direct to own the MLS. Like it's competitive, of course, but so is everything. But if you have like a few, like 3 to 5 really good cash buyers who have a good buy criteria and buy box, and you basically just funnel them deals from the MLS or from pocket listings from agents, which if you don't know what a pocket listing is, basically it's where you cold call or text an agent and then just ask them if they have anything coming up and they have like a deal they haven't yet listed. And so it's still off market. And so
Yeah.
you can make an offer before it goes live. That'd be a pocket listing.
Mhm.
A lot of the clients who are in the group, that's like they're actually crushing with that strategy right now, like
Interesting.
cold calling and texting agents. Like for example, JC and Mike, I was just talking to them. They said that they got 4 deals or 3 contract or sorry, 4 contracts, probably 3 deals, that they're gonna do just from last week. And one of them was this house in Tahoe that they're gonna take down. It's probably gonna be like 150K wholesale.
Mm.
It's like
Wow.
of a deal. But they're that's like one of the things that's really working well for them right now. I don't have a ton of experience, but I think if I was starting over with no experience, I would try the mixture of both, cold call and then also try to build some buyer relationships and then just focus on the MLS and kind of see where what I like better and then lean
Mhm.
into it.
Well, I think
Probably.
that's one of the biggest fears that a lot of new investors face. It is actually talking to sellers or talking to agents, right? I mean, that's
Mhm.
what do they say? One of the biggest fears is public speaking. Like doing this type of thing is probably a close second next to
Yeah.
taxes that people fear, right? So I'm trying to think. Like, I guess for me, it's kind of like I don't want to say easy, but it's just I don't have a problem talking to someone, and I've had to
Mhm.
overcome some limiting things like that. What what would be some things you would have either coach people through this in the past, Chandler, or you yourself had to do to overcome that? To be like, how do I pick up a phone to actually have a conversation with someone that I kind of feel like I'm out of my league?
Dude, yeah. I'll I'll give you like a good example of like something recent that I think
Yeah.
is relates very well. At this point, we've probably done a few hundred single family deals,
Mhm,
but we had this like land, like we wanted to get into like land and start doing like some land deals. And basically, we had this land lead, it's like 260 acres, and
mhm.
the lead came in, and like literally, me and my old business partner at the time, we like looked at it, we're like, dude. You want to call it? Like we're like, you want to call it or do you want to call it? Because we either we're like, dude, we're both we don't know what we're talking about.
Right.
Um, but we were kind of like,
Like
well, if
that
we want to like start
Spider-Man meme where everyone's pointing to everyone, right? Yeah.
yeah, it's like, who's gonna do it? And we're just like, well, I mean, like, at the end of the day, it's like we're like, we didn't have this conversation, but in our head, like in my head, I was like, you know what, I'll just call it. Like, it's like I know talking to people's, I'm not an extrovert by any stretch. I would be consider myself more of a
Mhm,
an introvert, like small circle type of person, which
mhm.
I'm sure a lot of people relate with that. And but I was like, if I want to do a development deal or do bigger deals, you got to get out of your comfort zone to
Yeah.
grow. So my entire life, it's just sitting in the discomfort zone,
Mm,
and trying to get as far into that until it becomes easy. Like, so anyways, I called the lead. It ended up being just a normal conversation with a normal guy who wanted to
yeah.
sell. We got the contract. It didn't end up panning out. Well, it did end up panning. It's actually a whole story, but we thought it was like a million. Anyone who does their first like
I mean,
land deal thinks it's like worth $10 million when it's worth like nothing,
right.
relative. So we got under contract like 2.5 million. We got a guy who was willing to buy it. He told us like 1.7. We're like, we're like
Yeah,
damn.
right.
We went and got a price. I had to call this guy to get a price reduction. That was actually where the phone was probably the heaviest because I we built so much rapport with this guy. We liked
Mhm.
him. We wanted to get it done. Called him back. I told him like, "Hey, dude, we got some bad news and some good news," which is always what I
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
And then I told him the good news we can still close, but we could be at lower price. Like how much? I was like 1.5. He's like, "What the
Right.
fuck?"
Yeah.
Anyways, he's like, "Well, I'll sell it for what it's worth." We got the price reduction, and then the buyer backed
Nice.
out, fucking did due diligence, and we were like, "Well, damn."
Oh,
So we kinda it was
oh,
like a
oh.
180K assignment fee or 170K assignment fee is what we
Mhm.
ended up getting to. But basically what we found out was when we did the desktop, like started doing the surveys, we thought we were gonna get like 230 units, like to be able to develop. We only
Yeah,
got 170, which just completely kills the deal.
yeah.
So because
There's
their
a lot
profit.
of nuance to land. I've toyed with land development. I mean, sometimes you don't think about infrastructure and things that you need in addition, that it's not just straight plots on that land. There's just a lot of things. And depending on the DNR or the environmental regulations, you might need to do some things there that just takes up space that you can't build on. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
a
that's
lot
kind
of
of what happened. So there was like 2 like waterways on this property,
Mhm.
and they both were dry, but there were still flood zones. And so for us to even cross them with the road, we had to buy these like water credits. And the engineer couldn't tell us exactly how much it was going to cost because he's like
Yeah.
it's kind of random. But he's like, I'll give you an example of like when we bought 70 feet, which we would need like 120 feet, I think, is what
Yeah.
150 feet for the crossings. He
Yeah.
said it was like 700K or something. We're like, "Holy
Dang.
shit, that's crazy."
That is
Um,
crazy.
but anyways, the deal kind of fell apart because the developer's goal is to make 20% on the actual project. It's like an $80 million project,
Mhm.
and so when they lose, what, 30% of the actual buildable lots, 20% of the actual buildable lots, all their profit's gone. So like, even if I got the land for free, it's kind of pointless. So
Yeah. I
it ended
get
up
you.
being just blowing up. But yeah, that's
I
that.
mean, and so
Yeah,
a
my
few
point is
things you
like
said there. Go ahead, Shannon. Go ahead.
oh, you're good. But yeah, my point is like if you're dealing with the thought of like how do I get started? Like you just got to make the first step at the end of the
Yeah.
day. Like it's never going to be perfect. It's actually never perfect. It just never is, and
Yep.
you always are going to go through that in your life and in business. Whether you're trying to make your first cold call or whether you're trying to like buy a business for millions of dollars, you're going to do something that's uncomfortable. Like even this morning, I'm like, man, maybe I should buy like a warehouse for like doing events for Level Up, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Shit, like $3 million." I'm like, "Oh, dude, that's kind of a stretch, like, is that gonna work?"
Right.
It's like, I don't know if I'm gonna end up doing it, but it's like, I'm leaning towards trying to do it because I think
Yeah.
it'll be, like, important, but you're always gonna have to take that step that takes you to the next level, and every time I've taken that step personally, it's always come out better on the other side. This is
Yeah,
the only
let's talk
thing.
a little bit about that because I love what you're saying earlier. You mentioned something that you love kind of getting yourself into that uncomfortable zone and leaning into that. Now, for some people, that's absolute terror.
Mhm.
Can you talk a little bit about how are you wired to do that? And how do you help someone who maybe sees that as an adversity? Like, how do I get past the mental breakthroughs? Because that comes back to the mindset thing, right? How do you get
Yeah,
to that point where that to you seems to be your default? Like you
yeah.
kind of almost you love that. You love that challenge.
For sure. It definitely wasn't always that way. I think that's how
Mhm.
most people would say. It's like you look like for me, I look back to it all started like late in middle school or early in middle school. I had the cross country coach who he basically he was a really good I don't really remember it too much, but I do remember like the fact that the what impact he left on me. His name was Coach Barr, but
Mhm.
he basically was like every day at practice, if we didn't do our best and he knew that, he would make us do a ton of push-ups and then he would make us do the workout again. And so,
Right.
what that equated in and, dude, he was hardcore, hardcore. But what it made me do is it made me go from seeing this, as casual, running to get fit for baseball season, to, "Hey, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do it hardcore." And then so I did that my 8th grade year, and it was fun, but I, didn't, love running, you know? So then I started wrestling my freshman year of high school, and
Mhm.
just carried that same mentality into it. And but everyone you listen to, it's like at practice when we'd run around or we'd be training, our coach would just be yelling at us the pain now is gonna be worth it later because you're not gonna
Yeah,
be tired
right.
for a period,
All
whatever.
those
Yeah.
platitudes, you're like, yeah, right, coach, as you're
Yeah.
sweating your cheeks off for sure.
Exactly. So, I don't know if a lot of people we can talk about wrestling, how intense
Mhm.
that is, but when you do that for 5 years straight, through high school, and I did it 1 year in college, and that's all you do all day, all
Yeah.
year round, you kinda become a psycho in a way,
Well, wrestlers are a different breed. I mean, there's athletes and then there's wrestlers. Anyone who's been through school or high school, you just knew the routine and that what you went through just to cut weight and just to kind of be ready, and the discipline it took to be ready because you couldn't be over but just even a fraction of an ounce. Like you had to be exactly there, and you wanted to be
Yeah.
at the optimum weight because it gave you the
Mhm.
advantage. So the conditioning that goes into that sport specifically is unique to any other, and then there is just a different mindset of just grappling and just doing the things and the dirty stuff that, hey, not in an unethical way, but just the grit and what it takes to kind of
Yeah.
be successful at wrestling and the
Mhm.
strategies. I was
Yeah.
actually talking to my coach, my guy who I work out with in the morning, and he was talking about his kids, and he was saying the importance of sports in just people's lives. Like if people have played sports outside of just the competition, you learn how to problem solve because you're always faced with some adversity. It's never easy. There's a challenge.
Mhm.
Maybe there's a skill gap that you have to learn how to do, or you're in an in-game or an in-match situation. It's like, okay, I'm about to get pinned. How do I flip this around? Then I can turn the tables and get the leverage here to now gain
Yeah.
the position here. So there's always the mental gymnastics, and I think that's one great thing that sports provides that perhaps, if you weren't an athlete, that you have to find some things like that that can challenge you to push. And maybe it
Yeah.
starts with, like you said, I think what you said before was was also important is that even with cold calling, you just got to do it.
Yeah.
And the other thing I find too is that the once you do it, it's not nearly as bad as you thought it was gonna be. Because, like you said, "Hey, he's just an everyday dude like I am. He puts his pants on like I do. He just happens to have a bunch of land
Left
I'm
leg
interested in
first.
buying," right? And once you get to that point and you can build rapport with people, it's not so scary. And
Yeah.
most people just wanna be treated like everyday people. So, you have to
Yeah.
come in trying to, like, have it all figured out because 'cause you're right, it's never perfect, but
Yeah. I also think just, from a mentality perspective, and
Mhm.
there's, I could go down this rabbit hole forever. This is, my jam. I could jam on this
Yeah.
all day. The It's surrounding yourself with people who, are pushing you in the realms that you wanna be pushed in. It's like, me and my
Yeah.
friends, we all continuously, wanna make more money, be wealthy or whatever. And so, when we hang out, every time we hang out, we just talk about, obviously we talk about friends things too, having fun, whatever. But we always are talking about how much money we're making, how we want to make more, how can we make more, and helping each other out. It's and being
Yeah.
vulnerable in the sense of dude, I make X and I want to make Y. What do you
Mhm.
guys think? Here's what I got going on, and doing that on a frequent basis, and just also hearing one of my buddies, he's a realtor in Denver, but yesterday, in 20 minutes, he's like, dude, I just locked up $3.5 million in in contracts, basically. He's like,
That's
"Oh, that's
awesome.
100 grand, I'll make today," you know?
Mhm.
So, it's just hearing that, it's like, "Damn, okay, I need to go make more money," you know? Um, so you hear that every day, you talk to your friends in your group chat, whatever, but it just
Yeah.
makes it to where taking action, being consistent, it keeps you accountable, you know? Because if I started slacking and my friends started making more money than me, or way more money, or vice versa, you're gonna feel like I'm gonna feel a little behind,
Yeah.
and that's the truth.
You're right. I mean, and we all know the saying, you're the byproduct of the people you surround yourself with. They say the 5 closest people, right? And I
Yep.
think, I think this is definitely with real estate, it's definitely you can make a healthy living. It's a great lifestyle business. But I tend to find this that the people that are the most successful also, Chandler, have a big why behind the dollars. Because
Mhm.
money in itself is cool and fun. You can go see cool things and do cool things, but after a while, it just that in its own right does get old, right? So what's the
Mhm.
big why behind Chandler and why it's important to you that you
Yeah.
drive the way that you do?
Dude, that's something I struggle with actually pretty hardcore. I talk
Okay.
to my me and my girlfriend talk about this all the time, so I'm happy to hear some other opinions. So I'm kind of the person that's like, just do it because you do it, kind of guy. It's
Okay.
like I'm just gonna do it to get better every day.
Mhm.
And that's kind of like my mentality. And because I'll kind of like wrap this up. So it's like I always like had like this big goal of like what I wanted to achieve. So when I started wrestling in high school as a freshman, I was like, man, I really just want to win state. Like if I win
Mhm.
state, like my life will change forever. I'll be like an evolve, like whatever my vision that I built up for it. And I
Mhm.
remember like I did whenever I won state, and I just sat there in the corner of the Coliseum. And I'm like, dude, like verbally out loud, I'm just sitting there. And I'm like, there was way better moments than this moment my
Mm.
entire like high school career. I was like,
Yeah.
and I just kind of like started naming them off to myself, and I was like,
Mm.
damn, I was like, and so it hit. And so for me, like as at 18, I was like pretty lost. I didn't know what to do with that information.
Right.
But and so what I thought, I was like, goal setting's bad, right? Because that's immediately I was like, this made me feel bad. Goal setting's bad. But then when you don't have goals, you don't have anything to run towards. And so and then you get even more lost. So then I was like, 18, 19, I was like even more lost than ever, hanging out with the wrong people, whatever. And so I realized I kind of had to change it. So I was like, you got to have goals, but like there's a balance between it. Because like if you attach too much to the goal, then you're just gonna be left unsatisfied and looking for the next
Mm.
thing. And so I haven't like nailed down anything perfect. So I feel like I ebb and flow of like,
Mhm.
how things are going. But for me, it's more about like feeling like I'm making progress and like
Yeah.
getting better every day, evolving systems, evolving the process, growing growing profit, growing revenue, each and every day, and seeing that growth month over month. And like I haven't really found like I need to do it for my family.
Right.
I have a girlfriend, but I don't have kids. I have a dog. That's about it.
Hey, man, you're young
Um,
yet you're still living life. Nothing wrong with
yeah,
that. I get it.
yeah. I
I mean,
like
what I'm
travel.
hearing is
I have
it's like it's the self-gratification that you are accomplishing some. I mean, it is a goal, and your goal, like you said, is you want to get better each and every day. So you set certain expectations that you're wanting to achieve, and that for you is kind of the why. Like that's
yeah,
important to you. Like you wouldn't be doing to this if you couldn't improve something. And I
yeah,
think that's why I've seen too where you've kind of grow your business, and like I think you just picked up some landscaping companies, right? You're like,
yeah.
hey man, I have an opportunity to grow and make these things cool. I also think it's the value you bring as a coach that like, hey, I can teach people what I'm doing and help them have the same result, right? That's the benefit of kind of being a mentor or a coach
Oh
is that
yeah,
you're empowering people to do that. So there's nothing wrong with that. And not it's not like you have to have this high lofty like, man, I want to solve world
yeah.
hunger or whatever
There's
that
some
is.
people.
I mean,
Yeah, some
that's
people have these
cool.
crazy goals. I've never like resonated with that because for me,
Yeah.
it's like I don't know. Like and this is something that I'm like working through like myself. Right? Is like
Mhm.
some still, everyone's like on their journey of like wherever they're headed.
Yeah,
Right? But for me, it's like being kind to myself. Like I'm probably like my own worst enemy in a lot of ways. Like my girlfriend
mm.
asked me the other day, she's like, "What are you grateful for today?" And I was like, I don't fucking know. Like fucking made some money today. I don't know.
Sure, sure.
What and I say that jokingly, but it's like
Yeah.
it's kind of the truth, right? It's like finding gratitude in the daily is hard for me, which is it leads me into like this like masochistic like
Mhm.
light. And I'm not saying like this is like to just yeah, I don't know why. Like my point is like this is like the darker side of like
Yeah,
where some of the why comes from. It's like
sure.
you don't feel like you're good enough some days, you know? It's like, today was a shit day.
Well,
I
it's
gotta do
funny you say that because I mean, obviously, the outward looking in, I mean, you're a highly successful dude, right? So I think it's one. I appreciate your being vulnerable on talking to me about this because I mean, you're just being real, and that's one thing I like about you. And when I met you, I'm like, hey, I totally, I can mess with that. You know what I'm saying? And I think
Mhm.
that we have to be more honest and open about ourselves. And like, there are going to be days that we just don't feel like we got it going on.
Yeah.
When I walked into this month with $0 on the books, and 4 or 5 months prior, we're hitting 100K a month. You started thinking, "What am I doing wrong?
Yeah,
What's wrong with
dude,
me, right? What
is
is
it
a
me?
leader, right?"
Yep.
So how do you shift that then? So how do you not stay in that? Because that's I think another struggle that a lot of new investors have. They hit that first piece of adversity.
Mhm.
How do you be like, nah, that's really not my identity, as I teach a lot on. My identity is
Mhm.
this version of Chandler. How do you deal with
Yeah.
that?
Dude, it's not there's no, like so anytime I've had, like, a bad day, like, my entire life,
Mhm.
my default has been, my parents always ask me every day, like, "What did you learn? How did you get better today?" Every day growing up. So,
Mhm.
I was very fortunate to, like, have that kind
Yeah.
of, like, frame shifted in my brain from a young age. And so, like, for me, the only thing I could ever think is, like, "Okay, well, I've been good in the past, and now I'm not good." Let's just say, like, keeping it very elementary. It's like, "I've
Mhm.
been good in the past, now I'm less good. How do I get more good?" And it's like,
Mhm.
usually it's like looking at what I used to do and saying, well, when I used to have success, I would just like do XYZ, or I would do more, or I'm more
Mhm.
consistent, or I worked out more, or whatever it is, insert like, you know, for insert whatever. Like I'll give you a good example. Like the beginning of this month, the first 2 weeks, I was like, we were in a dry spell for like booking new calls for new clients. And
Mhm.
I was like, dude, like what the fuck is going on? Excuse my French here. But I was like, why can't we get like, why did this just stop all of a sudden? So then I was like,
Yeah,
start
man.
thinking about it. I was like really down on myself because I was like, telling myself the story is like, you got to figure this out. You're no good, whatever. Get out of
Mhm.
it. Okay, let's think about this rationally. Like, when we used to get calls, what do we do? What's worked in the past? And then
Mhm.
and then you go and you just say, okay, like I'm just gonna take that information, I'm gonna implement it again, and then I'm gonna do it. And
Yeah.
so, and if you don't have that past history for yourself, look at other people. Hey, these people are more successful than
That's
me.
true. I like that.
They wake up like, for example, like whether you have a person who you know or someone who you watch on YouTube all the time, and like for
Mhm.
example, like whenever I need feel like I'm in a rut, I'll watch a Hormozy video and I just remind me like, oh yeah, do the hard work
Yep.
more, be consistent,
David
do what's
Goggins is
working.
another good one. If you wanna, like, get motivated, like, he's another good one I like to catch from time to time. Yeah.
Exactly, but it's like it just reminds you, like, "Oh, yeah, I just gotta stay the course.
Yeah.
This is part of the process, and, like, success kinda looks like this." I think some of that comes from, like, having people good around you, having good
Yeah.
mentors where you know them personally or, like, you take inspiration from them.
Yeah.
Uh, but, yeah,
Well, I
you
think
can't
what
rely
you're
on
really good
yourself.
at too, Chandler, what I'm hearing is you're good at not staying in that emotional state for too long of a period of time because that's where we sit in our own sorrow and be like, woe is me, life sucks. And then you go do more of that logical, which I think is one of your superpowers anyway. You're very good at seeing something and breaking it down into actionable things.
Mhm.
And God's gifted you that way. But I think you then
Yep,
know that that's in the past how you've been successful.
for
Then you can
sure.
go back in, kind of re engineer it or tweak the things that need to happen, but I think the
Mhm.
key thing that I'm hearing is that you don't stay in the, like,
Yeah.
"I'm a
I'll,
horrible
like, go
person"
for a
state.
run, you know?
Yeah,
Whenever like, because usually what happens is if I get in that state, I'm literally worthless. Like, I
yes.
don't if I can't do anything, like, when
Yeah.
it comes to work. I just sit at my computer, I stare, and I just, like, have anxiety in my head. And
Mhm.
so, I just go on a run, and usually when I come back from the run, maybe I'll call I have, like, a friend group, networks that
Yeah,
we
for
we
sure.
call each other very frequently,
Yeah,
just kinda
you need
talk about
that.
what's going on, "Hey, what you think?"
Absolutely.
And then usually they just, like, either tell you their opinion or tell you, "Hey, dude, stop being a bitch and go work harder,"
Bro, you need that in life, you
Yeah,
totally
you do.
do.
You got to. Um,
Absolutely, keep you honest.
yeah, exactly. And so, like, usually hearing that, I'm like, "Yeah, you're right." And then, like, if I still need more, my girlfriend, she's, like, also, like, she's very supportive and helpful
Mhm.
in these ways, she's the emotional side and I'm the
Yeah.
logical side for sure.
But
Um,
you gotta do something intentionally to change the state,
yeah,
and whether it's take a run, call a friend group, or a combination of things, you
mhm,
gotta change your physiology, right? Because you can't just sit in the same spot. You gotta
yeah,
change the patterns of what you're thinking, and then more importantly, what you're doing and saying on top of that.
yeah.
There's really 3
'Cause
things of changing state. Yeah,
exactly. For me, like, the biggest thing that makes me feel, like, really down on myself is knowing that I'm not doing the things required. Like, and it may not be a conscious knowing, it may be
yeah,
subconscious, but just being aware that I'm not doing the activities that are necessary for me to get what I want. So it's like
yeah.
if I was trying to get and, like, run a sub 3-hour marathon and I'm running 10 miles a week, like, that's not gonna cut it for me to run
Mhm.
a 26-mile marathon in 3 hours. Like, I know I'm gonna have stress and anxiety about that and feel really bad because I'm actually not being the person who I need to be. And most
Mhm.
of the time, that's usually where not all the time, but a lot of times that's usually where my stress comes from. It's like, man, like if I want to be, if I want to be worth like $10 million or insert whatever goal,
Yeah,
well, am I doing the things required to
yeah.
do that? And if I
Great
am, or if I'm
question.
not, then like, there's your answer right there. It's like look in the mirror and usually get your answer. But you have to be honest about yourself too.
Yeah, and come from a logical sense, don't be in an emotional sense, man. That's a great question. I love what you said. Insert goal there. Am I doing the things necessary? And that's all about like I teach a ton about identity and like that's how you flip your identity. Because if you want to be a marathon runner, are you doing the things? Or are you sitting on the couch eating chocolate ice cream? You know what I'm saying? Are you training
Yep,
to get to that point? If you want to be a
yep,
real estate investor, are you calling leads? Are you having marketing generate things for you? Those are the things
yep,
that successful real estate investors do. And if you don't know how to
mhm,
do any of that stuff, you team up with people like us, or you go on YouTube and you find people that are doing it, or go to local RIA
yeah,
club and
literally,
find other investors and network with them, man. There's no
yeah,
shortage of information that you can't do with anything in life.
mhm,
That's the one thing that modern technology, good, bad, or indifferent, is giving us is we have an abundance of that. It comes
yep.
back to you and taking the action steps of actually getting there, right?
Yep, totally. Yeah,
Bro,
leverage ChatGPT too. ChatGPT is pretty good.
ChatGPT, leverage AI, man, and yeah, that's a whole nother. We could spend a whole freaking podcast on
Yeah,
just the AI and how we're using that in our businesses too. But for the sake of time, man, I've this has been awesome, dude. You've brought so much value. You've shared so much stuff. You've been real with me, and I love that, dude. I appreciate that. I guess what's going on in your world right now? What's working for you? I guess anything you're doing,
mhm.
offering right now that you're helping people.
Yeah, totally. So, right now, just as an overview of kind of like the main business that I run is like
Yeah.
have like a mastermind coaching consulting company for
Mhm.
active like investors who are wholesaling, flipping, basically
Mhm.
getting they're working in the real estate sector, mainly single family, and then we help them with like their systems, their KPIs, their team, their processes, all the things that like it takes to like run a real business.
Yeah.
Um, and then we also are helping people with their marketing too. So, we're teaching people how to run their own Facebook ads and also how to, we're managing them as well for certain clients if they like that as well. So it's a mixture of both. And then we have 3 events a year and a few other things. But for the most part, like what I'm doing right now is, actually like kind of like for me is I want to take what my real vision was with Level Up was like to build
Mhm.
this machine that scaled businesses without me. And so,
Mhm.
the main pillars of the business are going to be your operations, your marketing, your sales, and your systems ultimately, and I
Mhm.
guess your fulfillment as well. But
Mhm.
I'm less focused on the fulfillment piece because that's more for the specialist that I would be partnering with. But basically, I want to take that machine, have that be able to grow a company without me having as much just with a lot more leverage,
Mhm.
and then going to take equity or buy equity into other businesses that are
Mhm.
more sellable than like a wholesale company or a flipping company.
Mhm.
So for example, like I'm consulting a roofing company right now that
Mhm.
does about 5 million a year to basically take, the exchange is like, hey, I'll consult you, help you grow, you give me all your systems, teach me how to
Yeah,
do everything, whatever. And so we're making that trade. So we'll see if that how dabbling in that industry. That's going
that's
really
awesome.
well so far. I think we'll be able to double that company in over the course of a year.
Oh,
Actually,
man, that's exciting.
it's pretty cool because you pay $1,000 to get your entire roof replaced. It's a pretty good offer. Um, and then
Yeah.
the others, yeah, the only thing that sucks is cash conversion cycle is about 90 days. So, anyways,
Mhm.
the other thing is like, so my dad wants to retire, so I invested into having an equity share of his company, and then my brother, he's training my brother to run the day to day. So
That's
that'll be
awesome.
an interesting thing. But that meeting with those people as well, figuring out what's the
Yeah.
marketing strategy, how to do that, how to take these companies from doing a few $1 million a year
Mhm.
to doing
Mhm.
5, 10 plus
Yeah.
million, selling them off,
Yeah.
maybe rolling up, vertically integrate like Atlanta market with like all the home
Mhm.
services companies. I have a friend who has like it's like our family friend, but they
Mhm.
have a pest control and like HVAC company that did a little over
Mhm.
20 million a year. So it's like figuring out like just like where do I know people? How can I get into this other realm where I have like a lot of leverage, but then can exit these businesses as well, and then have the real estate side for the cash flow, the investments,
Yeah.
wealth building, all those kind of things. So
Man, you have a big heart. Obviously, I think one of the things you didn't really share about, but I mean, it's evident in the things you're doing is you care to help people and want to have them improve. And other thing is legacy that I hear the few things that you're saying to me is that's important to you that you have something that you can obviously have yourself, but something you can pass on to the next generation or whoever that may be.
totally,
And so I think as you're going through this journey and figuring that out, man, those are two pillars that I think continue to lean into, brother. And I think
yeah.
that'll be part of your North Star and helping you just do amazing things as you're doing already, bro.
Yeah,
So
I appreciate that. That's
yeah.
definitely, like, for me, like, if it was me, dude, I would just work for free for everyone and just, like, help everyone, but obviously we can't do that. Yeah, no, that's, like, definitely, like, the thing I always battle with, like, because I've told a few people I'm like helping like this roofing company, and like, yeah, spending like a lot of time on it, like definitely like 5 hours a week
It's
helping
money,
them.
bro.
But and I'm like, I should be charging a pretty decent amount for this, but I'm just like, it's more valuable to get the lesson, to have the network or the connection in the industry,
Mhm.
because partnerships, deals, all kinds of stuff, like relationship I built 5 years ago just from helping people out have come
Mhm.
back and paid me way more in the
Brother.
recent memory.
Yes.
With investment opportunities, with different, just helping me out and whatever I'm doing, uh, yeah, so, I mean, I think, like, it's better to pour into relationships than it is
That's a
to.
nug if I mean, we're at the end, and that was even like, that's a bonus nugget, like, treat people well, because you never know when that could come back to pay dividends. It's like a bank account. Treat
Oh, yeah.
people well, and you just never know someday that they might cross your path again. It happened to me numerous times, whether it be deals or just relationships, or I needed something at the time, and, oh, yeah, I took care of someone, or I just treated them like a human, and it's come
Mhm.
back to be a beneficial thing for me and them too, so
100%.
brother. Well, hey,
100%.
man, I thank you. So if people want to catch you, dude, where do they find you? And like,
Yeah.
I know you're on the socials and such, but maybe just drop your handles and we'll put that in the descriptions too, so
Yep.
people can.
Socials are just, if you go Chandler Sane, it's at Chandler Sane on Instagram and on YouTube. Those are the main 2
Mhm.
places I go. If you basically have any questions, you can DM me on Instagram. It's me
Yeah.
replying, it's not anyone else. If you do opt into one of my ads, there's sometimes this is automation that just has been going crazy recently. Just feel bad. Me and one of another guy, we both had, like, our automations going, and it sent, like, a fucking 100 messages. It was crazy, but I gotta fix that. Nonetheless, hit me up on Instagram if any
All right.
questions. If you wanna, like, book a call to work with us,
Sure.
it's in my bio, so not
Yeah,
hard.
man.
So
I
go
love
put
it,
some
dude.
out.
Chandler, it's been great. This has been awesome, dude. I really appreciate you taking time. I mean, this is ultimately what it's all about at the end of the day, guys, is that as you're looking at things, it's not about just flipping homes and making money. It's really flipping the inside. And Chandler talked a lot of some real good strategizing things that you can flip that to help you get to the next level of whatever that is in life, whether it be business, personally, professional. These are all things that you can use to be 1% better even tomorrow, right? So, brother, thank you so much.
Appreciate you, bro. Dude, I
Awesome.
can't
Talk
wait to
soon.
hang out in
Until we
Vegas,
talk next.
man.
What's that?
Can't wait to hang out in Vegas.
Yeah, dude. Hey, that's talking to my wife. We'll see if that's on the itinerary. I've kind of held off travel the end of this year, but I that is kind of on the radar. So TBD for sure. That is on the goal. I'd like to do that for sure. But until next time, guys, keep flipping your future, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Later.
Peace.